Next on Wildlife Emergency, doctors operate on a victim of animal abuse.
Someone saw a speeding truck throw 3 ducks out of the rolled-down window.
Well, on the bat.
With a rehabilitator's help, a little brown bat grows up.
That's it?
Oh, yum, yum.
Yes!
That's his Batman's first moth.
And the staff tries to save the badly mangled leg of a fox.
Not a particularly good thing for tendons to be sticking out of legs, so this animal's prognosis is a little bit iffy right now.
Running to radiology.
We got a problem here.
Right.
We have the opportunity to give these animals a second chance.
But he's a little one.
He's a very small one.
Nice, strong heartbeat.
He's very handsome.
With wildlife, humans are a big part of the problem, and I just want to try to be part of the solution.
You need to turn it up a lot more.
You not only need to read the mind of your coworkers, you need to read the mind of your patient.
About 5 minutes to go before we hit 3 hours.
To save a wild animal's life and get it back into the wild, that's what it's all about. Well, let's take an x-ray.
An act of human cruelty brought this crippled mallard duck and 2 others to the Wildlife Center of Virginia, where it is being treated for extensive damage.
Someone saw a speeding truck the next town over throw 3 ducks out of the rolled-down window. I don't know how fast the truck was moving, but he hit the ground pretty hard. He scraped up one leg pretty good, and he broke his other leg in 2 places. So he was pretty broke.
I would not throw animals out of vans. I would not throw trash out of vans. I would not throw my children out of vans. I don't understand why anybody would. It's totally beyond me.
Before the bones can be reset, the gas vaporizer is utilized by veterinary technician Sarah so the duck can sleep through the trauma of surgery.
You sleepy duck?
Since these ducks broke their legs, they probably tried to land on the street surface.
Oh, duck.
So we're going to have to pluck this whole leg, aren't we?
Yep.
Dr. Tracy begins the time-consuming task of preparing the injury site.
Surgical prep on birds is more difficult than mammals because mammals you can just shave very easily, and birds you need to pluck. And bird skin tends to be very thin, and if you're not careful plucking bird feathers, you'll tear the skin.
Looks pretty good.
Not too bad.
As the OR is prepared, Dr. Ned knows that addressing the multiple fractures on a fragile duck's leg will be a challenge.
When we took an x-ray of this duck, it showed that the upper leg bone, the femur, was broken in 2 places, and the next bone down in the bird's leg was also broken in 2 places. They're not built for walking, they're built for swimming. And the way their legs attach to their body, it makes surgical repair of the upper leg bone difficult. Okay.
Now the operation can begin as the leg becomes the focus for the surgical procedure.
Are you going right over the femur or cranial to it?
I'm trying to go cranial to it.
To expose the broken bone, Dr. Ned must cut through many layers, knowing that the trauma to the tissues threatens the bird's life.
Oh, we got some bleeding.
Bleeding is a problem in the middle of surgery. Our rule of thumb here is to not allow a bird patient to lose more than 1% of its body weight in blood during a surgical procedure. Now, that's not very much. So I need to be very, very cognizant of blood loss intraoperatively at all times.
As with any surgery where anesthesia is involved, time is of the essence. So Dr. Ned quickly cauterizes the wound electrically, which seems to work for now.
The hemostasis gods are smiling on us.
While the doctors work against the clock to repair the duck, 15 miles from the center, rehabilitator Robin Eastham arrives at her farm with a patient who also requires immediate attention.
Well, on the bat. How are you today?
While rehabilitators in some states cannot treat animals with a high incidence of rabies, like bats or foxes, here in Virginia, rehabilitators like Robin, protected by a vaccine, may assist these species.
That's a good bat.
This little brown bat was found in a barn with a number of other baby bats. While the others were soon reunited with their mothers, this one apparently had been orphaned, and so Robin has taken on her care. A determined survivor from the start, she laps hungrily at the goat's milk, an ideal substitute for its mother's milk, that Robin provides with a paintbrush.
It's with natural bristles, which has to be in some way similar to what it's accustomed to with its mother. It will hold enough milk to keep it drinking for a few moments, but not so much that it could aspirate or get too much milk.
Though Robin will willingly spend the next few weeks feeding the little bat as many as 10 times a day, she knows that her enthusiasm for the species may not be shared by everyone.
I can understand why some people think they're scary. We have vampire movies, they're given bad PR, bat is always used as a negative symbol, but there's so much positive. A little brown bat has been seen to eat 600 mosquitoes in an hour. That's pretty good vermin consumption. I'd take a bat to a whole herd of mosquitoes most any day.
Today, Robin will see if the baby is ready to take the big step to eating solid food. Mealworms.
Here you go. Horror, absolute horror.
At first, the little bat is definitely not interested.
The first time we offered them to her, she turned away in disgust and crawled around to the other side of my hand. But the second time, I thought she was very enthusiastic about her wormy guts. Dipped in warm milk, mind you, to make them even tastier. Oh, Yum, are we going to try it? Are we going to eat that? What do you think of that? What do you think of that first mealworm? That time, didn't it seemed rather like she was quite pleased with the mealworm.
Having reached one milestone already, she seems to be able to take on the next challenge.
We're getting very interested in the concept of flight. That time, as she flapped them, I could feel her getting a little lift with them. I think this one's going to fly very soon.
Now, having eaten and exercised, it's time for a nap.
I think she's going to sleep now.
Hey, bud. How you feeling this morning?
Back at the center, Dr. Ned checks up on a recent arrival, a red fox who badly lacerated his leg trying to escape from a trap. He was brought to the center by George Roundtree, a researcher who is studying foxes in Northern Virginia in order to save their habitat.
Most foxes don't get a second chance like that, and he was real lucky that he was found in time before something happened to him, and he was lucky that we had the rehab center to take him to.
I'd be surprised if this leg is ready to be put in a cast yet. He's going to need...
No, not the way he's been chewing on it.
During his examination, Dr. Ned discovers that the fox has been gnawing at the injured leg.
Sometimes animals like foxes in captivity don't like being bandaged, and he may have been trying to chew the bandage off his foot, or he might have something called neuropraxia, which is a phantom pain, sort of as a result of the trap injury.
While veterinary technician Sarah inserts an internal stethoscope to monitor the fox's heartbeat,
I've smelled better legs.
Dr. Ned assesses the extent of the fox's injuries.
His joint is not in good shape. It hyperextends, and it also turns laterally in an abnormal fashion. And there are no fractures, which might actually have been better. It's easier to fix a fracture sometimes than it is to fix things like torn ligaments. That's not good. This is his tendon, and it's not a particularly good thing for tendons to be sticking out of legs. So this animal's prognosis is a little bit iffy right now, but we'll continue to do the best we can.
While there's nothing more at the moment that can be done to help the trap-induced wounds, the recent self-inflicted injuries on the foot can be addressed. First, the area must be shaved and scrubbed.
Because this wound was fresher and the edge is sharper, I can sew it back together and it can heal in a week.
Okay.
All right, this guy re-bandaged so we can wake him up. He's been asleep long enough.
With the wound sutured, the staff will make sure the fox cannot hurt himself again.
We get fairly inventive with our bandages. We put what Dr. Ned calls a sacrificial layer of bandage on that hopefully will keep the animal happy long enough that we can get back and change the bandage so he can eat the sacrificial layer off without doing any damage to himself or the actual bandage.
I want him checked throughout the day every 30 or 60 minutes to make sure he's not chewing on that.
As an animal who has fared badly in captivity, and with injuries so severe that he'll need to be here for months, the fox appears to have the odds of recovery very much against him, but only time will tell. For the orphaned little brown bat, the past 2 weeks have brought welcome new developments. With help from rehabilitator Robin and her farm manager David, she is beginning to fly.
You know, practice flying tonight?
A good flight. Now we lose her to the...
Oh, look, Gigi's going to come to Tink Tink by running.
The baby bat's roommate, which Robin has nicknamed Gigi, is rather hesitant.
Yeah, they're just, let's make him do flight. Look at that bat.
But the baby bat, which Robin has nicknamed Bat Bat, decides to give it a try.
Well done, Bat Bat.
Oh, did you see that too right here?
Yeah.
Nearly hovered. That's good control.
That was great.
Good control.
You want to try him off?
Yeah.
Now a new challenge. Will she eat a moth? It's an important moment because moths will be a major part of her diet in the wild.
That's it.
Oh, yum, yum.
Yes. Bat Bat, you don't eat the wings.
Of course, like everything, doing it perfectly will take some practice.
That's like eating the wrapper in a piece of candy. You know, sooner or later she'll figure it out.
This is fantastic for little Bat Bat eating a moth for the first time. It's amazing the number of skills that they have to learn to survive, and all they have are 2 giants to teach them. She's just making wonderful progress. All right, Bat Bat.
And now it's back inside the barn for some well-deserved rest. The surgery on the duck that was thrown from a speeding van has been brought to a critical stage of the procedure.
Here comes the exciting part.
Pins must be placed through the broken ends of 2 fractured bones so that once surgically joined, they can heal properly.
Well, the purpose of putting a pin in the middle of a broken bone is to make the 2 broken ends straight again, as though the middle wasn't broken at all.
You like that size, Tracy?
Yep.
I'll run this up and I'll hand you the chuck, Tracy, and you can bring it back down to the
Yep.
other fragment. Here it comes. After you stick your pin in the middle of the bone, after a point, you don't know exactly where that pin is. And you want it to go far enough to do the job, but not so far that it actually causes damage. So the technique is to take another pin the same size and lay it on the outside of the bone that you're trying to repair, and then you can visualize where on the inside of the bone your pin is based on where the same size pin is on the outside of the bone.
But another couple of twists.
Once Dr. Ned places a pin through the upper bone of the leg, Dr. Tracy assists from the other side.
I like it.
I don't think we can go much further.
Letting you learn at a bone.
Yeah.
Your fracture site is there.
Yep.
And that's, remember how much I went in? That's about it.
Yeah, there wasn't much.
I think we're going to call that good.
Okay.
These surgical instruments look as if they belong as much in a tool chest as in an operating room.
Certainly orthopedics is very much like bioengineering. You get the same satisfaction out of a successful orthopedic procedure as you do out of a successful carpentry project. There is that aspect to the procedure.
Okay, cut them.
Because the pins extend well beyond the bone and would injure the bird after it awakens, Sarah, using a little elbow grease, shears off the extra parts.
How's our little duck heart still sound, Sarah?
Our duck heart sounds great.
Good.
Little duck, wake up.
It went really well. I can't wait to see these post-op films and see how it really looks on the inside, but I think it went well.
Slowly, the effect of the anesthesia wears off, and this newly mended duck begins to revive. Whether it will tolerate the pins and whether it will heal successfully remains to be seen. After spending months at the center, the red fox, whose leg was badly injured, has nearly recovered.
Why don't you take the front end, John, and if you want to do the hind end.
The last time Dr. Tracy examined him, the wound was very obvious. Now, barely a trace remains of the injury.
Wow, this looks great.
It looks beautiful.
It's totally
It's even got
healed.
fur.
I know.
Boy, it really is almost healed, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Looks great.
Oh, this is wonderful.
During the months he stayed at the center, the fox has required meticulous care involving frequent bandage changes and physical therapy.
When he first came in, I wasn't even certain that we would be able to save that leg. It was very swollen, but we just kept working with him, and obviously he's a tough little fighter, and everything has healed up just beautifully.
I think what we're going to do, just to keep an eye on it, to make sure that we don't have any deterioration, is we're going to do daily bandage changes. Okay, I think we're set. We can go ahead and take him back.
The next step will be to take the fox outside to see if he can readjust after his long indoor hospital stay.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Let's go down this.
On Robin's farm, the big moment has nearly arrived for the little brown bat that Robin and David raised over the last few months.
Well, tonight is not just the big moment for Bat Bat. Tonight is the big moment for us. We've been planning and working and spending a lot of time and hoping and wishing for this moment. Our success means they'll be wild. We want that more than anything. That's the whole reason we do it. On the other hand, we're saying goodbye possibly tonight, so it's an exciting moment. It's a little bit scary. We'll see what happens.
Robin calls for the bat one final time.
Bat Bat. Well, hello. It's Bat Bat. Now, what do you think? Wouldn't it be fun to fly out there? It's so big.
As the big moment approaches, the little brown bat seems to have second thoughts.
Oh, come on, don't be chicken. What's interesting is sometimes they are really shocked by the expanse. They're used to being in a flight cage where their space is limited, so they're better than the average young bat at flying in small spaces. All of a sudden, there's the big world, and they can fly far. I think you need to try it. I think you need to try it. I think so.
And finally, she takes the plunge.
Yes, good bat. Here he is, over here, coming back. Well done. Well done. She just went tearing around here like she's done it forever.
She was certainly the most adaptable to each phase of the training.
Well, be well. I feel confident that she's out here doing fine. I'm a little heartsick, and I'm happy, and I feel good, and I feel bad, and I feel like I always do when we release them. There's a little bit of each of it, so that's what happens when you rehabilitate wildlife.
Just lay him down.
The fox, whose leg was badly injured in a trap, must receive a final examination before he can be released.
So when you had this fox in the outside pen last week, it did all right?
He did real well. He was a little freaky, but he tried to climb the wall. He didn't seem to favor the leg at all, other than this shedding problem, and it's just the time of year that they would be losing all this under winter coat, and he hasn't been in the right
Places
type
to
of
rub it off.
enclosure to rub it off.
We have worked with this guy for months. For weeks, we changed his bandage on a daily basis. We had him on antibiotics. We've just worked with him a lot. And so to get to the point where he is releasable is just incredibly satisfying.
Dr. Tracy will personally drive the fox back to his home territory near Virginia Beach, more than 4 hours away.
We're going to go down to that one right over there.
Arriving at the site, she's joined by rescuer and fox researcher George.
Ever since the fox was admitted, George has been in contact with us on a weekly basis. So he has followed this animal very closely. He's always been quite interested in the outcome. You want to do him here?
Yeah, right here. This is right where I got him.
Because this fox is one of just a few remaining in the area due to urban overdevelopment, George will affix a temporary radio collar on him in order to monitor his behavior more accurately.
It really doesn't bother them at all. It's basically like putting a collar on your dog or cat. They just get used to the fact that it's there and forget about it and go about their business.
Ready?
Yeah, I guess you can turn him loose.
All right.
As soon as the collar is in place, the fox is gone in a flash.
There he goes. There he goes. Adios.
sort of bolted out of George's arms, and the blindfold came off, and then he was gone. It happened very quickly.
The way he ran off, he ran just like any other fox I've ever released. So he looked good when that's one thing I did watch when he took off, was how he ran. He didn't seem to have any problems. Yeah, I imagine he'll probably go to ground real quick as soon as he can find himself a good briar patch or some bushes.
Mm-hmm. Since George put the radio collar on him, we're going to be able to track him in the wild. So we're going to get a lot of information out of this, and it's going to be great because we haven't been able to do that in the past.
After a moment of searching, George receives a signal, which proves just how quickly the fox has traveled.
He's out there. He certainly went a lot farther than I thought he would have.
With the data he collects on the hunting and mating habits of foxes, George may be able to help protect their rapidly diminishing habitat.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank
for
you.
all that you guys did for
I'm
him.
glad that
Appreciate
it worked out well. It's always nice to see their tail as they run away from us.
A satisfied Dr. Tracy provides a few final words of advice to her former patient.
Live long and prosper, like Spock would say, or be fruitful and multiply.
Weeks after the surgery on the duck with a broken leg, Dr. Ned examines an x-ray of the surgical site to see if the bone is mended.
Well, I certainly don't see the fracture line there. On the tibia tarsus.
I think they look good. I think we'll definitely take this bird's pins out.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan.
With some help from Dr. Julie, Dr. Ned removes the pins.
There you go.
Here's the first pin. Leg feels good as new.
Just need to tone the muscles now.
Almost immediately, the duck seems to demonstrate how well her bones have healed.
All right. Back to life.
And after a few days of additional convalescence, Sarah brings the bird down to the examination room for a swimming test.
Wanna go for a swim? Let's go for a swim. Do you think he's pretty much ready to go? Because he really doesn't like
He looks
being
like
here.
he's swimming really well, and the pin sites where the pins were sticking out of his leg, they're all healed.
My feeling is that he's pretty waterproof.
Yeah, he looks very waterproof. I think his waterproofing is fine. That's always a really important consideration when we let these guys go, is they need to have retained their waterproofing while they've been captive here with us. I think he's pretty good to go.
Cool.
The next stop for this fully recovered patient is a much bigger pond, outdoors. And for that job, the Wildlife Center's A-team is brought in.
Grab the duck.
Okay.
Dr. Ned's sons, Seamus and Graham, assist in giving the bird its freedom.
They've been exposed to animals their whole life, so I thought this was a good chance to get them involved. How about right
This
here?
look like a good place? All right.
All right, take them behind the head.
Okay. And like this. It's
Like
okay.
that.
Okay. Here you go. See ya. Bye. Bye. This is the first time I've ever released a wild animal, and I think the expression like a duck to water applies here. It was kind of like magnetism. Iron to an electromagnet. Zap. Just imagine, lock yourself in a room for a couple weeks, then come out. And you probably act the same way.
Seeing the duck fully recovered and at home in its new environment makes it all worthwhile for Dr. Ned.
To be involved at all stages from the very difficult and complicated surgery to be able to bring the whole operation full circle to release the duck here is why I do what I do.